Hello, beautiful people, and happy Equinox to you. It's the vernal equinox, the spring equinox in 2025, and I thought I'd do a little extra reading to share with you. And I asked what would be, a good message to lift people up. I don't know, to inspire people in some way or another at this time. And I got a lot of reversal cards, no major arcana cards, so just more simple cards, and there's 3 reversals in this 4-card reading. So let me show you what the cards are to begin with. First and probably the most important as far as our little journey today is concerned is this 10 of Cups that's reversed, followed by 2 more cups, and probably 2 more reverse cards, the 5 of Pentacles reversed and the 6 of Swords, and then followed again by the only right way up card, which is this 3 of Swords. Now, I haven't looked at this for very long, so when you look at something a little bit deeper and you go into it, you can come up with all sorts of different intricate details as far as the message is concerned. So I'm just going to give you out my first thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts about the shifts and the changes that are going on in your life, and maybe how this message might relate to what's going on for you. First of all, this card for me represents this opportunity for amazing joy and amazing love, and the full 10 cups, and that opportunity that's available for us, that's there for us to accept. And there's a word that came up for me today. There's this joy that we can actually choose or not choose, as if this is a choice. As if this is not just a haphazard experience that lands on our plate and whoopee, thank you very much to the universe, but more, no, this is a choice that we have. Do we choose this love? Do we choose to be in a state of joy, of bliss, of grace, of love? Do we choose to be in this state? And I realize, and that's probably why it's upside down, that most of the time we don't make this choice. This doesn't seem to be the first thing that we think about. And looking at the other cards, they're a little bit darker in some ways, and they speak about tendencies to look at the stark opposite, which is we have this conditioning to look at what we don't have instead of what we do have, or what could hurt us instead of what lifts us up and inspires us. We look at how we failed instead of how we succeeded. We have a tendency to focus on those darker, more lowering vibration type stories, and I know there's reasons for this, and this is the beautiful card of low self-worth, and it being upside down, it represents also this tendency to ignore our own lack of self-worth, our own inability to see how unworthy we're programmed to be. And this is something that's, I suppose it's normal. We don't see those type of programs. We don't see those ideas that keep us lower in vibration. We do see some of them, but we don't recognize the destructive devastation of our own mind and how we put ourselves down, and how we're conditioned to think that we're just not good enough. Maybe we don't deserve this joy, this wonder, this love. Maybe we don't deserve the full 10 of Cups. We don't deserve that. Why not? Well, because look at all the mistakes I've made. Look at all the unconsciousness that I have. Look at all of the self-doubt that I have. Look at what I haven't done. Look at those people over there that have done so much more than me, that are obviously so much better than I am in so many different ways. And this comparison story, this judgment and comparing ourselves to others in the world, is all the proof that we need to not choose joy, to not choose love, to think that we don't deserve it in some way, shape or form. And I believe that any justification we give to the belief of unworthiness is not really aligned with your authentic truth. Yeah, we've made mistakes. Yeah, we've lacked in so many different ways. There's so many things we haven't done. There's so many times and so many ways that we haven't shown up. We haven't reflected the light. We haven't been the best version of ourselves. We've tricked ourselves. We've fooled ourselves. We've betrayed ourselves. We've sabotaged ourselves in 100 different ways. And yet, it's a question of perspective, whether we look at all of these failures and all of these reasons that we're not good enough as excuses not to choose love, as reasons that I don't deserve this higher state of emotional bliss and joy. And there's, that negates this energy of whether we can take ourselves and choose to push ourselves from one place to another mentally, if we're actively willing to change our mind about our perspective, about who we are. And this is a hard thing to do, because the world has taught us to judge. It's taught us to make comparisons. It's taught us to judge who we are and to make rankings. We rank ourselves 1 to 10 of whether we're this good or that good, that pretty, that intelligent, that clever, that smart. And we live in a merit-based society, which gives reward to all those people who are high successful on this level and this level and this level. We do ignore some greater successes in our society. The success of being kind, for example, the success of being empathic and being loving and being generous. We reward those a little bit, but they're not as important. Those type of stories don't make it as much money for people in the business world, and because we have that hierarchy set up, it's a little bit difficult to feel and see our greater, more beautiful qualities and alter our perspective about the way we judge our worthiness. Yes, we may not have succeeded on many fronts. We may be even in a real dark place and a low space in our lives. But we've all been in darker spaces, and there are always darker places to be in. And we've usually come through something. We've usually moved through some form of diverse conflict and issues and problems. We've probably failed more than we've succeeded in our own personal growth, because we can see what it looks like to succeed, and we can recognize, well, I'm not quite there yet. But this isn't an excuse to judge ourselves from a perspective of something that we can easily see as higher than ourselves. What is more important is to recognize where we are, and that we have this ability to choose this story. If where we are is in this grief, and where we are conditioned to stay is in this sorrow state, and it's really important to listen to our sorrow, because our sorrow will actually guide us. And for some people, literally focusing on what is painful pushes them into action and makes a spurt of growth, or makes a movement towards bettering ourselves, whatever that might be. But if we are dependent upon seeing judging how bad we are in order to motivate ourselves into movement and so-called growth, then at the same time as promoting growth, which is a great thing, will be becoming dependent or codependent on that judgmental mentality, and looking at all of the defaults and the faults, not so much. We're looking at all of our problems and our faults, and that will become our default program. That will become our norm, and we'll depend upon looking at those stories and seeing them, which it's not it's not that we need to be in denial. It's not that we need to pretend to be better than we are. We just need to be able to balance our perspective. Yes, we can see in relative to the world that we've got a long way to go, but we can also look and see how far we've come. We can look at the small steps that we've managed to take. We can look at things that we've managed to overcome in our lives and come through and come out of, and recognize the beauty of this, and see how this is us choosing love, and see how this is us choosing a more joyful perspective of life. Some people might say this is delusional, and I'm not really into being delusional either. We don't need to judge ourselves and say, oh yes, I'm the best in the world. Now that's the ego grabbing this delusional pretending type story. We don't need to pretend to be who we're not. We just need to learn to see ourselves through a more beautiful and positive lens. That's the choice. And when we choose to look at ourselves through a very judgmental and harsh and critical lens, then we might, as I said, it might create some positive shifts in some way in our life, but we'll also be creating a dependency on looking at ourselves and looking at life as well through that lens. And when we look at life through that lens, we judge others. We judge others and we create more separation. This is never going to be great. This is never going to be a wonderful outcome. It's never going to feel wonderful, because we'll be with an intimate partner. We'll be judging them just like we judge ourselves. And this is going to be felt by anybody who's just the tiniest bit empathic. And this creates more division. It creates more separation. This is not love. We have to be compassionate to our judgment, and our judgment is there not for us to fight against. It's not because because we're bad people, or that we have a strong inner critical voice. It's not that at all. It's just that at one time or another, that critical voice has helped us be attentive to danger, helped us be attentive to darkness, and so that we can avoid that both in ourselves and outside of ourselves. So it's kind of a useful thing to focus on. But if we get addicted to it, if we make it an habitual way of thinking, then it will end up strengthening unconsciously our lack of self-worth, our self-doubt in ourselves, and it will make it very difficult to change our perspective from something dark to something light. And that perspective is part of the choice that we have to learn to make in our lives in order to turn this card around and really choose the joy. So choose as much joy as you can, not being in denial of where you actually are and the reality of your life if you're not in a fantastic great space, but because this is the way we move. This is the way we recognize our unworthy patterns. This is the way we recognize how our mind is attached to sorrow and very much addicted to feeling pain and focusing on it. And this is how we shift through and make a change of perspective from one place to another in order to be able to turn our thoughts around and look at ourselves and love where we are. Not an easy thing to do, but this accepting of this experience of joy and love and bliss and grace is something that we can choose, even if the world around us, even if what we've manifested doesn't seem to prove that we deserve it. We can be that choice. We can prove to ourselves that we deserve it by practicing a different perspective. And that different perspective will help us look at the beauty in the world, help us inspire and lift other people up instead of judge them and put them down. It's not about looking at the world and saying, this is wrong, that's bad, that's wrong, look at that guy, look at this, look at this. It's not about that. It's about looking at what's right. Because if we do a lot of that, a lot of the finger pointing in the world, we're going to do that finger pointing to ourselves too. And we're going to strengthen both of those perspectives. If we think this is the ticket to love, then I think we're a little bit mistaken there. If we think this is the ticket to joy, pointing finger at what's wrong so that we can create a big boundary between ourselves and that thing, no, then we're creating inner boundaries at the same time. That's not the ticket to joy. That's not the love that we're looking for. So it has to be a choice of shifting our perspective primarily towards ourselves and then consequentially towards the world. Have a wonderful equinox, everybody, and I hope this next 3 months really inspires you and lifts you up in a beautiful way. Much love.